family. I have something special for you today. Welcome to our 52nd week of the Kingdom. It's not our 1-year anniversary. Our 1-year anniversary is actually next Sunday because we started counting at the beginning, but we're right here, 52 weeks together, right here in the same room at Esalen, where it all started. And so this song that I wanted to play for you all today is one that is very close to me and makes me think of all of you. Here we go. If you know it, sing along at home. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky we look upon, this is for all of you, should tumble and fall, and the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. All together. So kingdom, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. One more time. Oh, kingdom, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Kingdom family, kingdom family, kingdom family. Here we are, all together. 52 weeks, going strong. And I'm so grateful, so thankful to have all of you here. Welcome. If this is your first time at the Kingdom, please make sure you type in the words "first time" in the chat box, and you'll see our community welcome you. And wherever you're coming in from in the world, make sure you type in where you're coming in from today. We're all here together, standing by each other. And you know what we say, we rise together. So as we do in every single session, we always start here at the Kingdom by anchoring into our beliefs. And here at the Kingdom, we believe that all beliefs are welcome here. We believe that all biologies are welcome here. You come as you are. I have a vision of us coming together in person, which many of us will soon, in our full glory of who we are, right? No need to put on any presentation of ourselves outside of the full capacity of who we are in all of our glory. We believe in the power of music to open our hearts and minds, and today it's Stand By Me. We believe that wisdom can come from many places, so sometimes it's religious, sometimes it's spiritual, sometimes it's not at all, but these concepts that are underneath and bring us all together. We believe in an expanded definition of self, and here at the Kingdom, we don't just honor or tolerate each other's differences, but we know that we are stronger because of those differences, inside of those differences. And like I always say over and over and over, we rise together. And so welcome first timers. Hello, everybody. Hey, Therese. Hey, Stephanie. Steph is definitely works at Esalen, so many of you who are coming will get to meet Steph when we come here. Anna, Dion, Kathy, my mom's here, Raylene, Cindy, Christine, Laura, Magdalena, Kalani, Alonzo, everybody, here we are all together. And for those of you who are new to the kingdom, what you can always expect here is we always begin with some form of art, poem, music, or song. We dive into a prayer, and then I'll give all of you about 60 seconds of silence to welcome in your own personal prayer. And then we dive into our teaching, practice, golden nugget, and an action to help you take these practices into your life. And today I have a very, very special guest who is sharing in the kingdom with us. And you know they are special if I'm bringing them here for our 50-second session. But before we actually get into that, I wanted to make a couple of kind of big announcements. So I need you all to listen super carefully to me right now, because these announcements are ones that you're gonna wanna, I know this community is really gonna wanna care about. And so I'll talk about it here at the beginning. And because I know some people who won't hear this because they're not here, some of y'all are people who are always late to church. And so I'll talk about it at the end again too, for those people who come late, because I see the numbers and I know who always comes late. So what we have going on that I'm so excited to share, and some of you probably got an email about this morning, is our community is getting ready to go on our second journey together in 40 days to transformation. I want you to put your hands up or some emojis up in the chat box if you were in our last 40 days to transformation group. Almost all of you were, but I know that there are many of you who are brand new to this community here. And so our 40 Days to Transformation program is a program that really runs off of this ethos here, is that there is a difference between change and transformation. Hey, Trey, we see you here, Trey. There's a difference between change and transformation. Things change all the time. We change our clothes, we change laws, we change where we live, we change jobs, we change our hair, we change governments, we change relationships. None of those changes ever have the lasting impact we want it to have if we have not transformed. And so what is the real experience of transformation that we get to go through individually and as a collective, so that we can then also impact our families, our trauma, our communities, the intergenerational trauma in the world? And so what happens is you pick a part of your life that you're really wanting to work on and take to the next level. And in 40 days, those of you, I see so many of you were here, what happens in those 40 days will blow your mind. And we have an incredible time going through the community together. We had over 400 people take the last round, and we're getting ready to take round 2, starting on August 2nd. So here's why I'm talking about it with you today, because we are announcing the 40-day program to the public, the next version, on Tuesday. But you know the Kingdom family gets everything first, right? So the process that we go through is this 6-week journey. It's really 7 weeks, taking you through even understanding what you want for your life, learning how to fully stop self-sabotage and get into the shadows. Then we open up to elevating your vibration, learning how to stay motivated even when you're anxious and stressed and have a lot going on. Then we go into claiming our authentic power, discovering your unique energy signature, and then creating a ritual, a daily ritual that you can do after the 40 days is over. Now, here's the deal, okay? We have upgraded, even those of you who've been in it before, we have completely revamped the program. The audios, the little short audios are the same, but we've added all these things to the program that you will see on the website, including this cool way that we're gonna do video chat community together that I've been hinting at with you guys for a long time, weekly coaching and accountability calls, all kinds of things that you can see on the website. But here's the surprise for you all, okay? You are literally the kingdom. You are the only ones getting this. You're the only ones getting this. Those of you who are actually here live or watching the recording today. We're doing a kingdom pre-sale that is active today only. Literally today only. This expires today. And if you haven't been a part of the program, you go to justinmichaelwilliams.com/transform and you enter the code KINGDOM200 and you literally get a $200 scholarship instantly to the program. This is just for you guys, just for today, because on Tuesday, we open it up to the public. And so I'm so excited for those of you who haven't had a chance to join before, that thanks to our generous donors and some grants and different things that we've received, we're able to offer this $200 scholarship to all of our Kingdom community. So let me be clear, because I know some of y'all be confused and technologically challenged, okay? So when you go to the website, justinmichaelwilliams.com/transform, you're going to see all these different pricing options because we've tried to make it as accessible to people as possible. Payment plans, all kinds of different things, scholarships. The one you have to select is the full program. That's $497. And when you put in the code, after you sign up and you put in your code, it reduces it to $297 for the entire program. So this is our gift to you. You can thank our generous donors for making this possible for all of us today. And if none of this pricing is accessible to you, you guys know how I roll in this community. There are full scholarships and partial scholarships available to everybody who needs them. All you have to do is fill out an application. The team reviews your application, and within 48 hours, we let you know if you need a scholarship to the program. So if money is an issue for you, that is not a reason in this community to stop you from participating in anything that we do. That is under the values of everything. But if you're able to contribute, right? And I trust this community. If you're able to contribute, I'm so excited that we have this Kingdom pre-sale for you. And if you are part of the last 40 days, this is my last note. If you are part of the last 40 days, then what you should have right now is an email in your inbox from me from earlier this morning, 7 a.m. my time, because if you were part of the last 40-day program, you get an even bigger discount because you were already in it once. You get access to the full thing for a secret price that's inside of your inbox. All right, so I love you all so much. And the last thing, I know I have a lot of announcements this morning, which is a little unusual, is we only have, so those of you who weren't here last week may not know that we added a second weekend for my Esalen retreat, my in-person retreat at Esalen, because the first weekend sold out. So the second weekend is now happening July 31st to August 1st, July 30th to August 1st. And that is almost sold out. So many of you have already signed up. There are 10 rooms left. There are only 10 rooms left on the whole property for our workshop in July. So if you're thinking of signing up, sign up. If you still need a roommate, type something in the chat box. About 10 of you partnered together last time to create roommates. Some of you are riding together. Our whole community is coming together in person for the first time. And if you're not able to come to Esalen at the end of the month, we're going to be live streaming the Kingdom from Esalen in person all together in 2 weeks. So I'm so grateful to have this, and thank you for listening through all of these announcements, everybody. How about we drop in now with our prayer and get started? Hands over the heart. Oh, hold on. Before I get into prayer mode, I just realized I forgot. You can go to the Esalen website. I know some of you don't know. Somebody could put it in the chat box for me. Esalen.org. Go to workshops, and then remember the first one is sold out, so you go to the second one, and that's where you'll be able to sign up. I wanted to make sure that was super clear. All right, so let's actually for real pray now. Hands over the heart. Here at our community, what we often like to do is put one hand over the chest and the other hand over that. Take a deep, full breath in and a deep breath out. God, Spirit, universe, all that is, all that ever has been, and all that ever will be, we thank you. Thank you for bringing this community together for 52 weeks. Thank you for the thousands of people whose lives have been graced by all of our presence and commitment, for each of us remembering that we can be the ripples of change in the corners of the world that only we can reach. Thank you for all the actions that we've taken each week. Thank you for all the guests, for all the lessons, and for today's special guest who's going to dive us deep, deep, deep into our hearts. My prayer is that each person here at the Kingdom, and you can all imagine our web from all over the world here at the Kingdom, gets exactly the message they needed today to help them step fully into their heart and come back home to themselves. This is your moment now to welcome in your personal prayer. God, Spirit, Universe, all that is, all that ever has been, and all that ever will be, we thank you. We love you. Thank you for protecting us always. And thank you for bringing us together. I pray that all words that are spoken here in the chat box and beyond are used for the benefit of all. So it is. Ashe, Aho, Salam, Shalom, Amen, Satnam, Awen, Om. Thank you. All right, Kingdom family. It just always feels so good to be praying with you all each week. And so I'm so grateful to be in this space, dropping into this space with you for a whole year. And so excited to be bringing you all and to be right here where it all started. Where it all started. Many of you know the idea for the kingdom came to me at Esalen in the shower. And so everything, bringing you here is the greatest joy of my life. And so let's get into our teaching, shall we? I have a very special guest for us today. And our topic today that we're going to be covering is called, wrong slide. It's not called that. The topic that we're going to be covering today is called the power of tiny rituals. The power of tiny rituals. And this is such a fun topic. As soon as our special guest sent me this title, I was like, that's it. This is exactly what our community needs. And who I have coming to join us today is an incredible leader, ritual designer, artist, and educator named Ezra Bookman. I want everybody to type in Ezra's name in the chat box so you don't forget his name, because this is important. And Ezra has been featured by the New York Times, by Vice, by The Atlantic, and I want to show you some incredible things that this brother has put together. Look at these beautiful, so these ain't tiny rituals, these are big rituals. These are big rituals, but I just want to show you, he is a ritual designer and has planned rituals all over the globe, big and small, little rituals, big rituals, and is going to help us today tap into the power of rituals in our own life and get really clear on what those rituals are. Look at this one. This is just an incredible ritual that he did, and this is just a little clip of the picture. So it's so incredible for us to be able to have Ezra here today. And so Ezra, welcome. I'm bringing you up to the kingdom stage. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to be here.
Oh, it is so good to have you here, Ezra. Truly, it's such a gift. And, I think one of the ways that I want to start, and we'll get into your story and all these different things, and our community's here just typing in your name and so excited to have you here, is why the hell do rituals matter so much? Why have you dedicated your whole life to rituals, and why should we even care about them so much in this way?
It's such a good question, and that I could take the next 50 minutes maybe to talk about it. So I'll try to condense it down. And actually, I like to actually begin to reflect on this question with an example of a ritual, to tell a little story and then break it down and ask why.
We love here, so go for it.
The ritual that I end up thinking about the most, I think, is this video I saw on Facebook of the Akron's Children's Hospital. And it's this video of Matt. He's 18 years old, and he had just finished 3 years of treatment for leukemia. And it was his final day. He was finally leaving the hospital. And so the video starts, you're in the hallway of a hospital, and you see him sort of turn the corner, and there's two nurses with a sheet of white paper, and he busts through the paper, and he starts walking down the hallway, and the video starts sort of panning down, and you see the whole hallway is filled with all of his friends and family. And they're clapping and cheering, and they got little kazoos and noisemakers, and they're going nuts. And he walks down, and he gets to the end of the hallway where there's this golden bell, and it's the cancer-free golden bell that he rings. And he rings it so intensely, it almost falls over. And he's crying, and everyone in the hallway is crying, and usually I'm crying because just thinking about it. And he walks back through this passageway of love to his parents who are there at the end, and he sort of collapses into their arms and they hug him. And in an interview afterwards, he says, like, that was the most important day of my life.
Yeah.
And I find that so interesting, right? Because it had nothing to do with his treatment, right? It wasn't the hospital. It wasn't the thing that actually cured him. And so what's going on there? Like, why was that the most important day of his life? What else is going on there that has nothing to do, that's like functionally opaque in some way? Because when you talk to evolutionary biologists and scientists, and I know you love science, they say that, you know, cultures that had rituals should have died out, right? If you were sacrificing 10% of your animals and grains to God instead of eating them, you should have been at an evolutionary disadvantage to people who were just eating all their food. And yet, there's ritual in every culture in the world through all of human history till today. So there's something that's like really powerful, that's like beyond the veil, that's a little hidden, that's happening.
Well, you know
Inside.
what's so wild, Ezra, is as you said, like, why is that day the most important day of his life? And I'm thinking about, you know, the way that you just described that of like, here's this child who went through chemotherapy, who was in the hospital, all these different moments that actually were important, as we can say, like logically, you know, with our left brain, about what actually kept him alive and what was should have been important to him. And you're saying his most important moment was that moment walking through with the family and the whole thing. And so it's so fascinating because I'm even thinking of all the moments in my life that I remember as being incredibly important. And you're right, so many of them have some level of ritual to them in some way.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting because in the last 15, 20 years or so, ritual use has been studied for a while, but primarily by sociologists, archaeologists, and anthropologists. And so recently, behavioral scientists have been looking at ritual and bringing it into the lab and studying, like, what's going on? Why does humanity love ritual so much? What's happening? And there's studies that have shown that rituals increase the feeling of control, increase creativity, regulate emotions. They help people deal with transitions. They enhance performance. There's a lot of sports rituals that's studied because it decreases anxiety, it motivates and bonds people. One of my favorite studies is actually they gave two groups of people the same chocolate bar and they told them to eat it and then rate it. And one, they gave like a little ritual tool. They like, you know, like unwound it and then like tapped it and smelled or whatever and ate it. And that control group rated the chocolate bar as more expensive, better tasting, better quality, you know, all the above. So ritual can actually improve the quality of an experience as well,
Wow.
which is fascinating. I like to think of four main reasons why we do ritual.
Okay.
And this is
I love lists. You know I love lists. So, okay. Community,
Same.
we're going to type all four of these in so you guys remember it. All right? So let's go.
All right. So rituals slow us down.
Rituals slow us down. Number one.
Right? They disrupt the automatic and the habitual. And by doing so, they help us be more conscious, grateful, you know, present. And I think that that's needed more now than ever, I would say. Pico Iyer, who I will probably quote at least maybe 3 more times in the course of this conversation, actually in an interview that he did at Esalen, he said, the only cure for distraction is attention. I love that.
Ah.
The cure for distraction is attention.
I love that. The only cure for distraction is attention. Beautiful.
So ritual brings us to attention. Yes, slow down. Embody values is number 2. Rituals make the intangible tangible, and especially around our values, what matters to us, what we care about, and especially as a community. Right? Like everybody here that's in the kingdom coming together for this shared experience is an enactment of the values that you hold as a community. So rituals help us bring us into shared space to experience and share and express our values.
Beautiful.
Number 2. Number 3 is connect to others. You know, and I would say to your question, we are in a loneliness epidemic in this moment. We are more disconnected than ever from ourselves and from each other. So ritual helps us combat that.
So what about though, like, cause I'm thinking of, what about people who are like doing rituals alone? Like, how does that still connect? Does that still connect you to others in some way, even if you're by yourself?
Yeah, so great question. So there's 2 elements to that. one, there's been a study that has shown that we feel connected to other people who do the same ritual as us, even if we're not doing it at the same time. Just knowing that they perform the same ritual as us connects us to them. And I would say, like, if y'all who are here at the Kingdom, if you were at a dinner party and you ran into someone and they're like, I go to the Kingdom, and you're like, what? I go to the Kingdom? No way. You would feel connected to them, right? So I think that sort of bears out over time. So that's one element. And I think that there's also, and this is my fourth layer, is that rituals connect us across time. And so I think that in performing a ritual, even when we're alone doing so, we can feel connected to our ancestors. We can even feel connected to other elements of ourself, other people that we had done those rituals with or over in our past. And we can project into the future as well, or in our future self, or and I think in that space of connecting to the past, grounding in the present, and projecting and then setting intentions for the future, that experience of timelessness is deeply connective.
No, see, this is really important because I think how many of you here at the Kingdom feel that sense of connecting into something, that last one, connecting across time, connecting into the future self, connecting with our past, connecting with our ancestors. To me, that's actually one of the things that I feel like I experience. That's number 4 is the one that's like the most present for me when I'm doing rituals on my own, right? Like, and not even just, so here's the woo side, right, of Justin, like, and I know we're all a little woo here, at least woo adjacent, if not, but like the thing of like, even when I'm doing a ritual with the tree, like it's like not just time, but it's like across like life forms for me. Like I'm recognizing sometime like the life within all things, like the spirit within all things, and not just like the humanity that I'm constantly interacting with all day. I know a lot of other people are relating to this too as well.
I think that's beautifully put. Yeah, that we're never alone, that we are surrounded in the great expanse of life, and that can surround us, and that we can be in dialogue with that life with a capital L inside of ritual space.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So I know, Ezra, one of the things that you often talk about, and tell me if it's okay that we go right here, right now, is you have this amazing shtick that you do about habits and routines and rituals and intentions and really fully understanding the difference between all of those things. But maybe actually before we go there, because I know people are wondering this, why in the hell did you choose to devote your life in this way to rituals? Like what I don't know anyone else in the world personally who's like, I am a ritualist. I am a ritual designer. Like, so how did that happen and why is that so important to you personally?
Well, I think it started as the seeds of it emerged from my background's in theater. I was a director and performance artist, and I got really interested in the intersection of arts and spirituality and the way that all of our art practices today started as ritual practices. Dancing, singing, mask making, costuming, storytelling, right? These were all spiritual, sacred, ritual practices. And it's only sort of in modern times that we've pulled those apart. And I got really interested in how does transformation happen? I think like that's the question that really drives me is how does transformation happen? I know that you have a lot to say about that.
Well, I'm just like, Go ahead. What?
I'm like, sign up.
Yeah, no, well, it's actually like pretty amazing because when you're asking that question, how does transformation happen? Even though that's led me in a different direction in life, that really is like, and I've never thought about it this way, but I'm thinking that has been the guiding question of my life. How does transformation happen? And like, and then how do I do it? So thank you for pinning that here because I've never actually.
Maybe that's why we feel so. Maybe that's why we feel so aligned with each other.
Yeah.
We both have similar guiding questions. Ultimately, I spent 6 years as the artistic director of, it's called Lab Shul. It's here in New York. It's an experimental, artist-driven, everybody-friendly, God-optional pop-up Jewish community. It's very New York. And I was just in a constant process of designing and redesigning and ritual for a modern world and a modern seeking souls. And I just started seeing how, ritual's everywhere. It's everywhere. And especially these days where you just hear people talking about culture and community so much, and yet we lack an understanding of this fundamental tool that we've used for all of human history to create culture and to form strong communities. And I just felt like the designer, the experiential creator in me wanted to bring a new language to equip everyone, no matter what you're doing, to deepen the experience of your rituals, and to make them ultimately contain the possibility, the kernel of transformation. So that's what really drives me. It's the question that is driving me most right now is like, why are some rituals better than others? Like, what's going on? Like, what's the stuff that's like hidden that you're not even seeing, you're not even aware of, but it's acting upon you,
Yeah, this is really beautiful. So I'm curious though, was there a moment in your life where there was some kind of ritual? Were they just always around you when you had an experience of ritual that made you go, oh shit, like this is what I need to devote my life to a little bit more? Was there any kind of defining moment for you, or was it something that was just always around you?
Both and, I
Okay.
would say. I mean, my father is a rabbi. My mother's a Jewish educator. I grew up very much like, progressive, hippie, liberal, crunchy rabbi. But still, nonetheless, I grew up with a really strong sense of identity. I think a lot, and since we're talking about tiny, I have a lot of like the big mountaintop rituals, and I know that's your question, but I'll try to do a tiny ritual instead
Go ahead.
because that's the theme. So I would say a tiny ritual that was deeply transformative and shapes who I am today is maybe I would call it a tradition of eating dinner together as a family growing up. And I have 3 older brothers. And we, without fail, would eat every single dinner together as a family, which was very difficult with all of our schedules. But it was an anchor point to our family. And it was so much bigger than just the consumption of calories, right? That there was something that was shaping us in the enactment and experience of that ritual. And I think today, I look at how much I turn to breaking bread and sharing a table together with people as like the anchor of where relationship happens. And I draw that directly to my upbringing and my childhood.
This is so beautiful, and everybody in the chat's loving this right now. And Cindy's like, "Yep, I knew he grew up with ritual." And Sandy is saying, "As the daughter of a New York Jew, my dad, I keep hearing the song Tradition in my mind when thinking of the cultural importance of rituals." Yeah. So, this is really interesting, and I want to get into the thing, and you guys are going to be blown away by what Ezra has to say and how he defines these different things of like, what is ritual, what is a habit, what are these different things, and intention, and how it all matters. But I'm wanting to frame some of these bigger questions. And I would love for those of you who have questions for Ezra, because I see how excited you all are in the chat box, either type your question into the chat, or you can push the little ask a question button at the bottom of your screen and ask a question, and I will pull as many of them as possible up for Ezra. And remember, here at the Kingdom, if you push the ask a question button, you guys can go vote for other people's questions so we can see which ones you all want to hear the answers to the most. So, Ezra, I have a question about tiny rituals versus big rituals. I found it really fascinating. I think what really like hit me when you sent me some ideas for topics when we were talking about this, and you said the power of tiny rituals. And I went, because like that's a different perspective than I think the way that most of us think of rituals. So what's the difference? Why should we be differentiating between these things? And why are tiny rituals maybe just as important? Are they more important than regular rituals? Talk to me about that.
Ooh. Well, All right. I want to go in like 7 different directions on this
I
question.
know that feeling. Yeah.
So as a background, it's important to realize that there are billions of dollars being spent, and some of the most talented, smart people in the world who are devoting every day of their lives to figure out how to get you to not pay attention and to be distracted and to think poorly of yourself, right? To have negative self-talk that is only cured by consumption, right? Billions of dollars are being spent. That is what we're receiving. And they don't want us to be aware, because when we're aware, we can discern. And when we can discern, we can see with clarity our lives and the abundance that is already existing, that is ever existent in our lives. And so I think that it's in tiny rituals that we disrupt that. It's like it's our magic wand. It's our power tool to disrupt that and to be like, wait. I'm going to call myself back to attention. I think tiny rituals help us zoom in and zoom out, often in a moment, right? In a single moment, we can zoom in and be super attentive and present to what we're doing. Oh, I'm making coffee. Where did this coffee come from? What a gift that I have running water. Can I take a deep breath and be present with this moment and actually engage all of my senses so that this is a full body experience and not just an automatic habit?
Yeah.
And also zoom out to feel in and to see inside that coffee bean rain, sun, the moon, farmers, a pilot that flew it across the country, a driver who picked it up from that plane and drove it to a supermarket, all of the hidden hands that work to feed us. And that inside that bean is all of life. So zoom in, zoom out. And I think that tiny rituals help us do that. I'll pause for a second, but I want to talk more about why tiny.
So I just want everybody to take a moment and just ground into how you feel when you hear something that is truth with a capital T like that. I know for me, I just went whoosh, like I just like anchored, like something just rooted me all the way down, and the community is like going right now. This will definitely be the replay moment. That will definitely be the replay moment that we post online. Because that's massive, Ezra, what you just said. In so many ways. And I want you to keep going. So go ahead.
Thank you. It's a real joy and pleasure to be seen and witnessed by you and by all of you in this moment, in time and space, right? Like here right now, as we're recording this, and everybody who's going to be listening to this on the podcast and like across time, it's all kind of collapsed and happening at once. So thank you. Yeah. I think also tiny because, and I love ritual, and I have 10,000 excuses not to do them in my life. Like my inner monologue for why not to do a ritual is maybe just as strong, if not as stronger than everyone else here. It's so easy to say, no, I don't have time for that. No, I don't want to be present. No, I just want to, that voice is really strong. And so, and this is something that I've learned from a few different teachers. BJ Fogg, who wrote Tiny Habits, which is a brilliant book about habit formation, who writes about creating an opportunity that is so small it's impossible to say no to, right? Because it's so easy to say no. And so you just like reduce it so small that it's like to say no actually takes more effort than to just say yes and do it. So I find that to be really strong. There's also Mingyur Rinpoche, who wrote The Joy of Living. They talk about, they're really focused on a meditation practice, and they really encourage people to do less formal practice than they're capable of doing so it doesn't become a burden. And that was then picked up by Meng Tan from Google and Search Inside Yourself, who's like, he like claims he's like the laziest meditation teacher, right? Because he just tells people to commit to one mindful breath a day, just one. And that if you just breathe in and out mindfully, your commitment for the day is fulfilled, and then everything else is a bonus. And so, and I'm really inspired by that approach that really brings us into the power, significance, and transformation that is possible through cultivation of awareness daily in your life.
Yes.
Rather than having to wait to the mountaintop for the big transformation and those pictures that you show where it's just like something is cracked open and everything changes, and yes, mountaintop. We love the mountaintop. But then actually, as Pico Iyer says, how do you bring that experience of gathering stillness at the mountaintop into the commotion and motion of your everyday life? That's the challenge.
That is
right?
the challenge. And that's the reason for the tiny rituals. And what somebody just typed in, the Kingdom, what they do here is they type in their favorite quotes as you're talking. They're really good at this, right? And the one that just came through is amazing, is creating an opportunity so small you can't say no. And also, I love what you're talking about bringing all of that awareness straight to these little moments. And so in that way, right, then it becomes, if I'm understanding you correctly, less about what you're doing and more about what you're bringing to what you're doing. Because like, you can just make your coffee in the morning and it could not be a ritual, or you can make your coffee in the morning and it could be a ritual. And so there's these ways. Am I getting that right from you, Ezra, that like it's really about what you're bringing to that moment?
Totally. And this might actually sort of like ricochet us into the difference between ritual, routine, habit, and tradition, because those things end up, those words end up getting conflated in our culture. I think about, I collect two things. I collect rocks and definitions of rituals. And I love it because there's so many and they're all true. But there's Catherine McTeague, who's an activist and minister, talks about ritual as attention and intention, right? The quality of your mind, attention, and the quality of your heart, intention. And there's a simplicity to that I love, and it's by bringing that attention and intention that we begin to transform the mundane into that opportunity for deep connection with yourself, with other people, and with the world.
This is amazing. I'm looking at some of the questions that are coming in, Ezra, and there's two in particular that I want to get to. One is so Magdalena asks, can you address the shadow side of rituals? And is there a shadow side of rituals that we might know about or drop into that we make sure that we're aware of?
Yes, Magdalena, thank you for that question.
Yeah.
Totally. I don't know if I'm going to answer the question that, I'm not sure if this is what you mean, but this is how I hear the question. Ritual is a neutral tool, as all tools are. It's a neutral tool. And it's incredibly powerful, and that power can be wielded in all sorts of negative, destructive ways. I think about I'm forgetting which book I just read this in, where she describes the ritual of online trolling, right? Where these like right-wing trolls are, pounce on somebody. This actually happened to me. It was like 24 hours of just my social account being blown up by these like really terrible homophobic and anti-Semitic comments. I don't know exactly how it happened. It lasted 24 hours. And there was something in doing it together, right? If you were just alone, like, like being mean to people on the internet, it wouldn't feel great. But when you're doing it together with a group and there's purpose and action and you've got coded language and you feel a part of something, it makes it powerful and you keep on doing it. So yeah, I see all kinds of ways in which ritual can be manipulated. The power of ritual can be manipulated to hurt, to coerce, and yeah. So that I would name that as
so it's using the energy of ritual and all the things, attention, people power, togetherness, focus, all these different ways, and putting it in a direction that's causing harm. versus what we're looking at these other ways. That's really interesting. It's kind of like the dark side of rituals, or again, the shadow side of rituals. There's one element that I want to ask you about, and this is something that I actually deal with in my own rituals, and I think some people here will relate to this. I want y'all to put your hands up in the chat box if you relate to this. I'm giving y'all a little peek into my mind, okay? I don't know that I've ever even said this like publicly anywhere. So an issue that, this is a shadow side for me, an issue that I sometimes have with rituals is after a while, my like OCD or like perfectionism around the ritual itself will kick in. And I'll sometimes get into this phase of like, where it shifts from like ritual to almost like superstition, to where if like I don't do it right, then it's not going to work and something's wrong. I don't know if you ever heard anybody say this, but this happens to me all the time, to the point where like people know that I have this ritual. A lot of people know that I have a ritual. Every time I eat, I offer the first bite of my food to the earth, right? I will put it in a little spirit plate and I'll go offer it to the earth. I've been doing it for like years. And then all of a sudden I started getting really perfectionist about it, to where now sometimes I feel like if I'm in a place and I can't give my food to the earth, then, oh my God, like something's wrong. And I'll sit there and like, should I do it? Should I not do it? And then I catch myself like at a restaurant, like walking outside to like find a tree in the street so that I can do it so nothing bad like, it's so weird. Or like doing another ritual, and I feel like if I skipped a step or if I did something wrong, then it's going to mess up the whole ritual. People in the chat box are relating to this. They're like, same, 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 same. So I don't know if you have any tools for us ritual perfectionists that get stressed out at our rituals. So let us know.
Okay. So you just, now I have a new chapter to my book that I now need to write. And I love that. So thank you for bringing this in. I think there are two things that are emerging in what you're describing. And they're two of the biggest misconceptions that I see about ritual. The first is the misconception that rituals must be repeated and consistently repeated in order for it to be a ritual. Every ritual that has ever been done was done for the first time at some point in history, and it was still a ritual.
Right.
It was a ritual that first time. And so repetition is one of the tools. I call them, I have my design process is called the ritual lines. And it's the sort of 7 lenses to look at ritual and to see what's going on there and why is it impactful. And one of the lenses is time and rhythm. And so repetition is one tool that you have to deepen the experience of a ritual, but it's only one tool. And there's the shadow side, which is that it can become rote and repetitious. And then I think it becomes a tradition, right? A tradition is an action, a repeated action that gains meaning through repetition. But not all traditions are rituals.
Right.
Because rituals are intentional symbolic actions that heighten the importance, impact, or meaning of life.
This is really important. This is really important. And people are chiming in here, because it's the other question people were asking was like, what about the rituals that you just end up doing because you do them and you have no meaning? It's just like a habit. So it's like, those are no longer rituals now. They're almost, they become traditions, basically.
They become traditions. And I don't want to knock tradition. I heard it was called out earlier. Tradition is powerful and important and meaningful for a lot of people. But I think a lot of reasons why we are turning away from organized religions and looking to spaces like this is that tradition has become so rote that we've lost our understanding of why we are personally doing something and the purpose behind it. And we're just doing it because we've always done it. And that isn't as satisfying as having a deep, intentional, symbolic reason that is personal, purposeful, and particular to you. So I would say activating that is, and I know we're going a little off field here, but that's a really important distinction, I think, in discerning in your life the rituals and traditions, and whether a ritual is still functioning as a ritual in your life. The other misconception that I heard in what you were describing is this concept of rigidity, the idea that rituals need to be fixed, predefined formal sequences. And yes, a lot of rituals do have a sort of specific series of actions, but their true transformational power, it can't be captured in like a step-by-step description. Emil Durkheim, who's a great thinker on ritual, he describes, his definition of ritual is collective effervescence.
Yes.
Effervescence is a really hard thing. Effervescence is in conflict with rigidity.
Yeah.
Right? And so the effervescence that you feel when you engage with offering your food to the earth might be lost in the rigidity of, I have to do this, I should do this, and I'm stressed because I can't do it the right way. You've lost the original intention around it.
Yes.
Because in doing so, you might have even become blind. Like, oh, I need to offer food to a tree. You might have been, in doing so, you might have missed seeing the unhoused person who needs food that you passed on the way out the door to go find a tree.
There it is. And you know what? This collective effervescence piece, that's really important. You know, effervescence being this experience that we have that's like a word that kind of describes like awe, collectiveness, like feeling this moment together. Like for people who are wondering, like, wait, effervescence, like, hold on, what do you mean? Like you've experienced it before. It's the moment when you're with a big group of people, like watching a sunset and it's just insane. Or you're at a concert and every single person at the concert starts singing at the same time and waving their hands. And you're like, wow. You know, like that is that collective effervescence of all of us together. And you can also experience it alone, effervescence, when you feel that connection into something more. But I think one of the things that you've just said that also echoes what one of my spiritual teachers that we've had on here named Brenda Villa also said, because she will always put me in check when my OCD gets into my rituals, is she says, Justin, the universe is already supporting you. Your rituals are a bonus. Your rituals are the bonus. They're the icing on the cake. They're the little magic that you're doing to say thank you, to drop in and connect. And so it doesn't, the spirit doesn't fucking care if you do this order, this. Like spirit's already supporting you. You're just like coming in and saying like, I'm paying attention. I'm saying thank you. It's just it's the cherry on top. It's the icing on the cake. So like, don't take it too seriously. 'Cause I had this one time where I totally flipped out. It was like a full moon eclipse, like some moment. And I knew the eclipse was exactly at 11:48. And I was trying to do my thing right at the time at 11:48. And my lighter wouldn't work. And so I had to run downstairs and I was getting the lighter right at the time. And I was like, oh my God, I missed it. Like I missed the eclipse. And I was having this like full on meltdown about the eclipse. And I called Brenda and she was like, no, stop. Like the eclipse already has your back. Even if you did nothing, this is just your moment to, you know, drop in and have the extra piece of intention there. I'm looking at the time. We're totally okay. And I really want to make sure that you have the opportunity to cover this piece that I keep teasing people with about habits and this and that. And also to give us the opportunity for all the people who are here who want to create rituals in their life and who didn't grow up with rituals and want to know how to actually start creating tiny rituals in their lives. If we were able to cover those two things, I think everybody here would be very happy.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. And I will say, you know, if you ever want to continue this conversation, my Instagram handle is @ritual_ist, and like shoot your questions my way. Like I love talking about ritual, so please do come and find me. Okay, so ritual, routine, habit, tradition. We conflate those words a lot in our culture. And I think a lot of the reason why we do so is because ritual sounds sexy. Right? I mean, it's like every time I see a shampoo commercial and they're like, your hair care ritual. And I'm like, you're just shampooing your hair. It's like, let's be honest about what's happening here. So, you know, there's no hierarchy. Habits are no better, rituals are no better than habits. They're just different tools that function differently in our lives. So rituals are,
Sorry,
hello, spirit is here.
Yeah.
Rituals are intentional symbolic actions that heighten importance, impact, or meaning.
Okay, hold
And
on,
what
hold on, hold on, hold on. We're okay. I know we're rushing, but you can't say something that important and fly through it like that for these people. Rituals are, say that again for us, because I know they're going to want to type that in.
intentional symbolic actions that heighten importance, impact, or meaning.
Ugh, that's really important. Okay.
I will say this is my definition because I'm a designer and it's really important for me to be able to distinguish between these things. There's all kinds of definition. Rabbi Chaim Stern, he writes, ritual is poetry in action. I love that. There's a simplicity in that. One of my mentors, Charles Vogel, talks about, he's like, you know it's a ritual if you take it away and the moment feels less important. That's how you know it's a ritual. So don't get caught up in the rigidity of my definition. What I mean by that, though, is that by intentional, I mean, and I sort of mentioned it earlier, there's 3 Ps. There's purposeful, personal, and particular. So
purposeful, particular. Okay, writing that down.
So ask yourself when you're doing something 3 questions. Why am I doing this? That's your purpose. Why am I doing this? So what's your personal connection to it? And why am I doing this particular thing? Of all the things you could be doing, you know, I want to honor my ancestors. I could light a candle. I could take their favorite food and bring it to a tree. I could sit in meditation and sit with a photo of them in my hand. There's all sorts of things. So why this particular action of all the things you can do?
Hold on. Okay. So we're going to go a little long today because this is really, so hold on. You got these moments, Ezra. You got these moments that we love here at the Kingdom. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And why am I doing this? That is amazing. Same question, emphasis on different words, and we got 3 different things: purposeful, personal, and particular. Is that
particular?
It? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Everybody's writing here. Ezra, please write a book. He's writing a book, y'all. We're good. He's in it. And we're contributing now. Look at us. We're contributing to the book. So we're good.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, in the works. With enough coffee, it will get done. So the other element to this, to ritual and how it's distinct is symbolic, right? And so what do I mean by symbolic? I mean, and this comes from a behavioral scientist, Nick Hobson, who's been studying ritual. It partially lacks direct instrumental purpose. Okay, so you can light a candle to put light into your room. You can also light a candle to honor your ancestors. There's something about it, and that has nothing to do with the light that it is bringing. It is partially lacking a direct instrumental purpose. So there's that quality that it's like hidden behind the veil, right? It's like peeking into mystery in some way, into that layer of meaning and reality that is bigger. It is in that moment, right, of ringing a golden bell. It's like, what is that? What does it matter that you ring a golden bell? But in that moment, it has nothing necessarily to do with healing him directly, but it has everything to do with connecting him to every other person that has ever rung that golden bell. And it has everything to do with the fact that in that hallway of all of those other rooms where there are still patients who are doing that hard work, they hear that bell, they hear that sound, and they're reminded, oh, I can get out of this. I can get better. I can heal. And it gives them that energy and that inspiration to do that hard work, right? So that's that quality of symbolic. And then it heightens importance, impact, or meaning. It makes life, it brings you into contact with the power of life, of being alive. Yeah. Oh. So that's ritual. Okay, we're going over. I'm trying so hard, Justin.
No. Ezra, please relax. We've gone over many times, and if we were gonna ever go over on time on an episode, it's gonna be this one because we're here with you. So just relax. Let me worry about the time. Keep feeding us. So go ahead. What you got?
Thank you. All right. So the easiest way that I find to talk about this is actually like I said in the beginning, to tell a story. So, you know what? I talked about family dinners, so I'll talk about family dinner. Family dinner was a tradition. It was a thing that we kept on doing that grew in meaning through its repetition, right? Actions that gain meaning through repetition. My three brothers and I, we always sat at the exact same table, the exact same seats around the table, period. Like without fail. We never talked about it. We never discussed it. We didn't know why we did it, but like to sit in a different seat would have been unthinkable. The whole universe would have exploded, I think. That was habit. Habits are automatic, repeated actions.
Habits are automatic, repeated actions. Okay, people are typing in the definitions here. So we got the ritual definition. Evie got that in for us. She's a speed typer. I'm sorry, Evie, they are a speed typer. And then we got habits. Can you say the definition one more time of habits for everybody?
Automatic, repeated actions.
Perfect. Okay. Great.
I will also say, I've got this written down. If you email me, Ezra@ritualist.life, I'll send you a little PDF of this.
Perfect.
So that's habit. It was not intentional, right? We didn't know why we were doing it or why we were doing it or why we were doing it, right? It was just automatic. Now, before we started eating, we would wait until every single person was seated, right? We would not, food was on the table, but we would not dig in until every single person was seated around the table. We held hands and we said the Jewish prayer of gratitude for a meal. That was our ritual. It was intentional. It had nothing to do with consumption of calories. In fact, it slowed us down. It made the thing take longer than it would have. It was functionally, causally opaque, right? It was symbolic. And by the way, on those layers of symbolism, you know, my brothers and I, there was always someone fighting with each other, right? Someone right before dinner was like, I'm never talking to you ever again, right? Like that was said maybe at least twice a week. And yet we sat down, we physically contacted with each other, and we said something together. And that was this layer that made dinner more important, and it made it more about, not just about eating, but the enactment of our values of being a family. So that's ritual. And then routine, at the end of dinner, there was the clean plate club, which meant that you had to finish all the food on your plate because of ancestral trauma.
Yes.
And
I hate that freaking rule. I will never do that to my kids. I think it's the stupidest rule. I was talking about it this week at Esalen, but it's total ancestral trauma passed down.
Total ancestral trauma.
Yeah.
And then you had to bring your plate to the sink to wash it. Now, this is routine. This is intentional, repeated action. Okay. So what I mean by that is we knew why we were doing it, right? There was a purpose, right? There was a reason. It was clear. We were making it so my parents didn't have to wash as many dishes, right? And we were eating all the food. So there was intention, but it wasn't symbolic. It was doing the thing that it was doing, and it wasn't making dinner feel more important or meaningful. It was just functional. And so I think a lot about my morning routine of working out. Like, you know, I do 10 push-ups, which I know why I do it. It's to look good. That's the only reason. It has nothing to do with health. I just want to look good. So I, will do my 20 push-ups or whatever. It's intentional. I know why I'm doing it, but it's not symbolic. And it doesn't make life necessarily more meaningful. Now, if before I worked out, I looked in the mirror and I put my hands on my chest and my heart, and I took a moment to appreciate being alive, and that, oh my gosh, I have a body and I can work out. What a privilege that is to be able to work out and to move my body. Thank you. And then work out. Well, I've just added some ritual to that routine.
This is magic. And this is how we add rituals to so many things. Okay, so you gave us ritual, habits, routine. You talked about tradition before, but does this weave in here as well?
Yeah, traditions are actions that gain meaning through repetition. So that was that I would call that the dinner as a whole, right? The fact that we did that weekly, every day, made it more meaningful in and of itself, just through its repetition.
Got it. Okay. Is there anything else on that list? Or are those the four?
Those are the four.
Okay.
I mean, there's more, but another time.
Okay. So, and everybody, I put his email in the chat box. So it's Ezra@ritualist.life. .life, not .com. And
Got
so,
life.
because, you know, we're bringing life here with Ezra on the kingdom. So I want you to, because people are having a meltdown over here, I need you to just, because I think it would actually be really nice to hear them side by side, even though you're going to email them to people. Just give us the definitions: ritual, habits, routine, tradition, or and put tradition wherever it's appropriate, just so we can have
Great.
it side by side, nice and clear and slow.
Sure. Rituals are intentional symbolic actions that heighten importance, impact, or meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Routines are intentional, repeated actions. Habits are automatic, repeated actions. And traditions are actions that gain meaning through repetition.
Yes. Ah, I'm so glad you did that, because feeling those together, we can see the connections between them, right? And how they all weave into one another. And I love that the way that you broke down the dinner, because you can see in something that we sometimes think of as a ritual, there's actually all these different elements inside of it. And even like a ritual of I'm thinking of like going to church, like when I used to go to Catholic church. And I used to be very engaged in the church, y'all. People here know that, right? I was like in the Catholic church. I did all things. I was in the choir. I played Jesus in the Passion Play. I also played Judas in the Passion Play, which was really fun to play both of them. And, you know, had all these different experiences. But I remember there were some moments that were definitely routine and some that were habits. So like the habit was like putting my finger in the little water and doing this when I walked in the church. Like I didn't even think about it. You just boop, brrr, you know what I mean? And like, okay, there it is. There's a little habit. Or maybe it's a routine, but it could have been both of those things. But when I think of the moments that were actually felt really sacred to me inside of the church versus the moments that were just kind of regular, now I can pull out some of the things that actually felt like rituals. Like when I actually got down onto my knees and like was able to drop into my own personal prayer in church, that felt like a beautiful ritual to me every time. But when we did like the Our Father, especially in the Catholic Church, that version of the Our Father, I didn't even like, I would like basically was just saying it on autopilot. You know what I mean? So here we can do all these different versions inside of one event, rather, of the tradition of going to church. So, whew. Anyways, all right, Ezra. Anything else you want to make sure that we add, that we want to make sure that we don't leave people without?
Oh my gosh. I think we got it. I think
Okay.
we got it. I feel full.
I feel full too, and I think everyone does. So, do we have time? Do you have time, Ezra, to take us into a little practice here?
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to. Um, I I had two ideas of what to do in this moment, and I was like, just trust that after the conversation, you'll know what to do. So I'm going to check in with myself and see what feels like it is calling and emergent. All right. I think I got it. I think I got it.
You got it?
Um, I want to do. I want to do a ritual with you, a
Okay.
tiny little ritual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to stay on the screen, or do you want the screen on your own?
I love sharing.
All right, cool. I'll be here with you.
Um, okay. For another time, we'll design rituals together. But today, I just want to bring you into a little self love ritual. And I wanted to bring this because, especially, I feel like we get that message of self love so much from companies who are just trying to get you to buy something. And it's more of like a treat yourself than a love yourself. And so, and yes, valuing and gifting to yourself can be powerful ways to self love. But I also want to offer this like self love ritual that is totally free and just costs a little bit of time. It's a hold yourself with awe and love. And it's a little glimpse at the zoom in, zoom out kind of moment. So I'll invite you to get comfortable, whatever that means for you. and to sit in a loving way, whatever that means to you. And rather than going right into closing our eyes, do something a little different. I'll ask you to take your hand and hold it, cradle it in the palm of your hand. And we're going to just spend some time with our hand. And I'm going to take us through a brief history of this hand that you're holding right now. So just to begin, take a couple deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And allow your gaze to just softly come to attention with this hand. And you can feel the weight of it. You can flex it, fist it, and bring all of your awareness, all of your attention to it. So notice how the joints are allowing movement, the articulation of bone and muscle, the intricacy of its structure. And we're going to just take the next few minutes to behold this hand as if you've never seen it before. Because what you are holding is an object that is unique in the cosmos. It's a human hand of planet Earth. Billions and billions of years ago, the cores of high mass stars exploded, enriching dust clouds with the building blocks of life. And these building blocks created everything, including this hand in your hand, this one. The most common elements in the universe are hydrogen, helium, oxygen, carbon, and nitrogen, in that order. The most common elements in this hand that you are holding, in order, are hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, and nitrogen. The atoms that make up this hand are actually traceable to the heart of a star. We are in the universe, and the universe is in us. In the primordial seas where we once swam, this hand was a fin, as it was again in your mother's womb. 375 million years ago, our ancestors used those fins to crawl out of the ocean and onto land, and they became paws, and then they became this hand with its long finger and its thumb, which opened this whole new world of possibilities. We weren't as fast or as strong as animals, but we had this thumb that moved separately from our other four fingers, and with that we shaped tools and weapons and survived. So just think about how this hand, this one in your hand, opened like a flower when it emerged from your mother's womb. How small and adorable it was when it reached out to touch and explore and learn. How it learned to hold a spoon, to wave hello, to write its name, to wipe tears. Think about how much this hand has thrown out, wasted, grabbed, hurt. And think about how this hand has built, repaired, reassured, loved, given pleasure, protected, planted. There is nothing like this hand in all of the universe. So give it a squeeze. And give it a kiss. And I invite you, as you move through your days, as inevitably words of self-harm or self-deprecation worm their way into your head, that you can just come back to this, come back to your hand, come back to that moment of awe and appreciation for the wonder, the magic, the mystery, and for the expanse of time in just this, let alone your whole body. You can just sort of extend that gaze onto your body itself and take a deep breath into that space. And maybe to just close, we'll take that hand and we'll put it on our heart. Feel it beating. Remembering that we are alive, that we are living, that we are loved, and we are loving. Thank you all.
Ezra Bookman. Magic, brother. Magic. Magic, magic, magic. Right here from my star hand to yours. And for everybody in the kingdom, you can put your hands up and just send that star power, star love right to Ezra. Wow. Ah, such a beautiful practice. I'm so grateful to have you here. Ezra, don't leave just yet, even though we're closing and going to go into a couple announcements, because I'd like you to lead our closing prayer with me, if that would be okay with you. Would you be willing to do that? It would be such a gift to the community. Everybody will be done in just a couple of minutes. But I want you right now, as I go back to these slides for a moment, to just place your star hand over your heart again. Close your eyes if you're willing, and if it feels good to you, and think about what is the one golden nugget that you want to take away from today's session. We covered so much, from rituals and habits and traditions and how to make them and why they're important and why they're different from one another, and the shadow and purposeful and personal and practical and particular, and all the ways that Ezra has gifted us today. But if there was one thing that you could take away from today's session, just one, and you could remember it for the rest of your life, what would that one thing be? Hand over the heart, just see what bubbles up. And it takes 20 to 30 seconds to commit something to the long-term memory. So just think about that thing again and again, again and again. And the commitment that we make every week here at the Kingdom is that whatever that one golden nugget that you got was today from Ezra or anybody else who's shared in the chat, that you will share that one thing with somebody in your world, somebody you know, somebody you love, social media, anywhere, so that each of us can be ripples sharing in the world. You don't have to teach anything. You just share what you know. And that's how we spread our magic out throughout the world. Don't teach, just share what you know. And it all opens up. And so you can open your eyes and type in your golden nuggets in the chat box. The why am I doing this? The zoom in and zoom out. We are made of star matter. And I'll read more of them coming soon. And because several of you joined late, I told you all in the beginning I was going to do this for all of our people who come late to church, come late to the service. I just want to make sure you all know that our community is going on our journey of 40 days to transformation, again, starting on August 2nd. And this is such an important journey that we all get to experience and go on together in this community. And everybody who's here at the Kingdom, because you guys are getting the first announcement before anyone else in the world gets the announcement. We're doing a special Kingdom pre-sale. You just go to justinmichaelwilliams.com/transform and put in Kingdom 200 when you pick the full program, and it gives you a $200 scholarship to join us for our next session that starts on August 2nd. Again, the code is Kingdom 200 and justinmichaelwilliams.com/transform. And again, if you need a full scholarship or a partial scholarship, fill out the application and we got you. This is the power of tiny rituals with Ezra Bookman. And Ezra, I'm going to start us out as we do our prayer, and I would love for you to close us out with the prayer, if that's okay with you. Does that work out? Okay. So, family, put your star paws on your heart. Take a deep, full breath in and a breath out. God, Spirit, Universe, all that is, all that ever has been, and all that ever will be. Thank you for this ritual that we get to do with each other at the beginning and end of every Kingdom session and every Sunday. May this community flourish and thrive, transform and dive deep, zoom in and zoom out to remember the effervescence and the magic and the stardust of this one big life. Ezra, take us home.
And may we know that when we encounter the magic within, we are seeing, beholding, and being with the magic without. That the moments in which we slow down, may they soften us to the awe and wonder that it is to live, to be alive. And may the tiny little changes we make in our lives to be inside of our purpose and connected to the wider meaning of the world, may that ripple out farther and farther and farther, so that we can be a light to ourselves and to others. And may that light grow and glow and radiate.
So it is. Ashe, Aho, Salam, Amen, Shalom, Satnam, Awen, Om. Pow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ezra. And, thank you, community, for all of you coming together here again and again for 52 weeks strong. Next week, we celebrate our 1 year anniversary at the Kingdom. And the 2 weeks after that, many of you will be on the Kingdom live as we stream the Kingdom live from my 2 workshops happening at Esalen. I love you all so much. Thank you, Ezra. Everybody go follow Ezra. And thank you, Kingdom family, Kingdom community, for coming together and spreading this mission of love and hope all throughout the world, far and wide. This is Justin Michael Williams signing out. I love you, and I'll meet you right here in this special place next Sunday. Bye for now, everybody.